Today, I go over on how to model the aluminum extrusion that I plan on using for the next 3D printer build that I have. You can get it on Thingiverse. People have already made it and everything, but I just figured I'd like to make my own for my own build. And it's just another good modeling practice to kind of show how to make things like this. Anyway, stay tuned. Hey everyone, this is Kevin with inventimark, and today I'm going to be doing a video on making the aluminum extrusion profile for the new 3D printer I'm going to be building. It's basically the 20mm stuff that you get from Open Builds, and I'll put a link in the description of what all that they offer. That's pretty decent prices for the extrusions. Anyway, I'm just going to basically make the design of it, and to start off, what we want to do is open a background image, and I just downloaded the one that they have on their website. Actually, not on their website, it's just one I googled. So the first thing I want to do is create a plane, and I'm going to make this 20mm. So that way we have a size reference so we can move the photo to the actual size of what it's going to be. That's kind of close. Too small. A bit too big. Just going to size this down to get it close as we can. We're just using this as kind of a visual reference. So what the size needs to be. And so we got this about the right size. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide that. Just create another plane. And what I'm going to do is go to vertex mode. Set origin to the 3D cursor, and then I'm going to move this to 0, 0. So now that that's centered, so when we size it up, it goes to the right size basically. And so we size that up to 1 centimeter, or not, yeah, 1 centimeter square. So that basically makes the entire thing 20mm when we add the modifier here. I'm going to do the modifier mirror to X and Y. So whatever we do with this, it will translate into the other mode. And you get all 4 different points there that all go kind of add together. So basically all I did was just, if you're following along so far, just make this plane just on this one section here, and we're going to modify the entire thing from here. So what I'm going to do is select 2 different points, press W and then S to subdivide it. So it's basically a quick subdivide. WS, and just kind of move these into the general location where they need to be. And just keep moving these. They don't need to be exact right now because we're just making sure we have enough points in here. We'll move these all along later. And I've got a couple extra ones in here because I wanted to have these lined up with those. And we might need to add some more as well. And I'm going to turn on clipping because I want these to match up there, those to match up there. Okay, so we got all those. And we're going to be using the Measure It add-on. And so this length, this needs to be 1.5. So I'm going to change this color to green, because I like working with the green. Seems to be the best for me anyway. So I want to show that and then hit segment because we want to measure that. And we need to change this to millimeters. So it's not measuring right now because we haven't moved it to where it needs to be. But both of those need to be 1.56 or 1.5 millimeters, and here, oh, oops. If you look right here, this little section here needs to be 1.64. So we'll measure that, and this distance to that distance needs to measure 1.8. If you can see on the background, it has 1.8 measured here on the thickness for those. So we can measure both of those. And so we're only going to be able to measure half of that distance right here. This needs to be 5.68. So half of that's going to be, let me do math in my head real quick. So it's 34, it's going to be 284. And just to calculate that, yeah, 284. So this distance needs to be 284, as well as this one. That one actually is right on the spot. That's surprising. So we can probably move that. I'm just making a couple of adjustments here. They're not going to really matter in the end, but okay. So what we're going to do is size. Press S, Y, 0. That aligns all of these, so they're all lined up. S, X, 0. That aligns all of those, so they're lined up. And so what we need to do is get these lined up. Get these lined up. Those should be lined up. Those should both be lined up. Okay, so we got all those where they need to be. Okay, so I'm trying to think what we need to do next here. What other measurements do we have? That's 1.64. Actually, that's 1.8, so we need to make these 1.8. We also need to measure that one too, don't we? That one needs to be 1.64. Okay. Just get a rough estimate going here. But it's pretty close already for what it needs to be. Because these two should be lined up. Because I don't really have a point at reference what these need to be, but these should be lined up because they line up exactly across there. Because that gap should be the same. So size Y 0. Let's line those up. Size X 0. Line those up. So now I can select those and make that 2.84. So that lines up. We got all the measurements here that line up to where they need to be. So if we look, it looks like everything we have is lined up except for this angle. That's the hard one to figure out. So what we need to do is create another plane. Cursor to center. Select the cursor. Rotate 45 degrees. Size that up. Being that we don't have a length measurement, I'll check in a little bit, but I don't think we do. So that's lined up as close as it can be with that corner. This is only a measurement that we have, otherwise is a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's lined up exactly on that line there. Because you see down here it's got a 90-degree angle there. So we can just move that over to 0. Oh, excuse me, 0. Just move this in and align it with this corner here. And zoom in as far as we can. So to move this, I'm pressing G and then Z, not Z, grab. I'm clicking the Y, or the middle mouse button to make it lock under the Y axis. You can press Y if you want, but I just find it easy to use the mouse cursor, or the mouse button to lock it into where it needs to be. And so as far as this one goes, get it close as we can there. Zoom in. Keep on zooming. So now that's at 45 degrees, so it matches up and lines up really well. So we got all the measurements that I think we could possibly need. Just the only one that's there is the circle. We could do that later. We know what the diameter that's going to be. So we got 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So this point here is exactly at 2, so we know that the entire thing is square like it needs to be. We can delete that cube now. So if we want to, we can just create a plane and make that dimensions 5.68 square. And so that should line up there. That should line up there. Looks like it does. As well as the ends there. I'm just double checking everything, because that lines up well there. And if we unhide the other one, that's 20 millimeter cube. That lines up as well. So we got all those set up and measured. Just double check everything. Everything looks good. So we can go ahead and apply the modifier. And that completely screws up all the measurement things. We actually don't need those anymore. Go ahead and just delete these. Or hit the delete all button. I could have done that. Or hide it. Any of those would have worked. We can go into edit mode. And I'm just going to select that one. Move to there. And merge at last. Merge at last. Merge at last. One thing I didn't do is make these little things in here, because what I'm intending this to be for is for the negative part of something I want to mold to go around the aluminum extrusion. So I really don't want to have that in there at all, because it's really not needed. The circle I'll have in there, because that'll be needed. But as far as the little insert there, I'm not going to need that, so I don't really need to model that into there. So add a face to it. So we basically have the full shape there. And one last thing I'm going to do is extrude it up on the Z-axis just a little bit. Go into line select, deselect everything except for the 4 corners. Go back into top view, and I'm going to go ahead and make the bevel here. I'm not going to make it quite as big as they have it on there, but just a little bit under. So that way we have it there, and it looks like the center selected at the bottom part. We'll go ahead and select everything and then recalculate it. So now everything's back to normal, the way it should be with the normals. And we'll go ahead and create a cube. Not a cube, a cylinder. And that is going to be 4.2 by 4. Whoa. Let's do 10. 4.2. And we'll just do a Boolean difference cylinder. Not turning out quite right, so let's do a B mesh. Apply. Delete it, and there we go. Now if we want to get it exact, it's pretty much exact, but I don't know why it would change that slight little bit. But anyway, if we want to modify the size, all we need to do is drag it there for the length that we need, because the pivot point's set at the very base of it. So if we, ones I plan on using are to be like 300. So we basically have the entire extrusion there, exactly how it's going to be after it's ordered. I'm sure the ends aren't going to be quite as sharp as that, but they'll be pretty sharp. You could adjust that if you wanted, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.